What is up, YouTube people? It's your boy Patty Ninja, and in the last couple of days I've been playing a ton of the new horror game Scorn, and boy do I have some thoughts. So without further ado, let's rock. Scorn is a new first-person survival horror game developed by a Serbian studio named Ebb Software. It was released on October 14th for Windows and Xbox. It was actually a day one release on Game Pass. Scorn follows a humanoid that awakens in a rundown, mostly deserted, nightmarish world. And I do think that this is going to be a very divisive game. I think there are going to be two camps of people after playing Scorn. One, they really dig these types of games and understand what the developers were trying to do with Scorn. Or there's going to be a lot of people that are like, what the hell did I just play after playing this game? And if I had to put myself in one of these camps, I'd probably lean towards what the hell did I just play camp. Which sucks because I tend to like these types of games. The biggest issue with these games is it doesn't have a strong story or characters to lean on. I will forgive a lot in a game if I dig the story or the characters, but Scorn doesn't have that to rely on, so everything else kind of has to be a 9 or a 10, and unfortunately, everything was kind of a 7 or an 8, other than one thing that I thought was really, really bad. And like I said, there's no explicit story in Scorn. It just drops you in and it wants you to do all the heavy lifting as far as the narrative is concerned. It reminded me a lot of a game like Limbo, which again, I tend to like these types of games. Limbo is one of my favorite games of all time. Scorn doesn't hold your hand. It lets the player infer the meaning for themselves. And I do think that there is enough here narratively, there's enough context clues that I felt like by the end of the game I really got what they were trying to say. But I think that's going to rub some people the wrong way because it's not going to spoon feed you the story. But where this game definitely shines is in the art direction. They had a very clear vision of what they wanted Scorn to look like, and I think they absolutely nailed it. It's kind of a mixture of Hellraiser and the Upside Down from Stranger Things. Everything you come across kind of feels like it's a mixture of flesh and machine. Everything kind of looks like a rib cage, which I think is very interesting. And that's what really drew me into this game to begin with. I saw a lot of the promo material and it looked so much different than all the other games that I was playing. So I was immediately psyched for this game. And for the most part, it didn't disappoint. The first act is really cool looking. It immediately immersed me into this world. And then fast forward to the fifth act was also equally cool. I thought that they put a ton of time and effort into designing the world of the fifth act. Unfortunately, the three other acts in between the first and fifth kind of blended together for me. Everything kind of felt very similar. Each act wasn't distinct enough to feel like it was a completely different area. And so it felt like I was just kind of bouncing from one room to another, but it all felt the same. And I have a tendency to get lost a lot in games, and it definitely didn't help me getting lost so that every room felt the same. And each act is kind of its own big puzzle. It reminded me in execution, but of course not in tone, of a dungeon that you would come across in a Zelda game. You know that you have to go through that locked door, but you still have to do X, Y, and Z to unlock that door. And each act in Scorn kind of has its own gimmick that you have to execute. Once you figure it out, it's just a matter of gaining all of the things that you need to get to unlock that door or move that object or whatever it is. And this game also kind of leads you to believe that there's a lot of exploration. However, and of course I'm oversimplifying this, but let's just say you have 3 hallways. So you think, of course, naturally that, cool, I have 3 different ways that I can go. But in reality, the first hallway is a dead end. The second hallway is the aforementioned locked door that you have to unlock. And the third hallway is where you actually have to go to do the thing to unlock the door. And a lot of times that third hallway will then loop you back where you started. So in reality, despite looking like there's a lot of exploration, the game is very much on rails. The puzzles themselves throughout Scorn were pretty fun. Some were easier than others, but what I really enjoyed about these puzzles is they were all very well designed. It typically didn't take me very long to figure out what I was supposed to do for the puzzle, but it was designed in a way that it still made it very difficult to execute them. I mentioned earlier that there was one aspect of this game that I absolutely hated, and it almost made me want to quit the game about halfway through, and that is the combat. The combat in Scorn is absolutely dreadful. The weapon you start off with is practically useless. The guns that you eventually get that actually do a decent amount of damage, you get almost no ammo for. The creatures that you have to fight in Scorn have like a sniper's accuracy with their attacks. They hit for long range as well, so it's almost impossible to avoid damage when you do fight them. It takes a lot of your little ammo that you have available to you to actually kill them. It seriously feels like the developers wanted you to not fight. Unfortunately, they don't really give you a ton of great stealth options in this game. I don't mind games that want you to do stealth. That's fine. I'm replaying The Last of Us Part 1 right now on stream, Patty McNinja on Twitch if you want to check me out. And that game, a lot of those interactions, you can just sneak around. There's a very good stealth option. In this game, they don't give you that option. To make matters worse, you do have to backtrack a lot in this game, so even if you do manage to be able to sneak around some enemies, a lot of the times you're gonna eventually have to fight them anyways. Luckily, there's not a ton of combat. There's really only one act that you have a lot of combat. Not surprisingly, that is my least favorite part of the game. It made me want to give up on this game about 10 different times. It was so frustrating. I will give the game credit. There is a very cool boss battle at the end of the game. I'm a big TMNT fan, and the creature that you fight reminded me a lot of Krang, so that was really fun. So the last thing that I want to talk about with Scorn is the music and sound design. With a game like this that relies so heavily on tone and atmosphere, the music and sound design have to be on point. The sound design was awesome in like the weirdest way, because it definitely grossed me out. It definitely made my skin crawl because everything sounded like it was wet. Anytime I touched anything, it sounded just like squishy, and that sound just makes my skin crawl. And that's obviously what this game was going for, so I definitely applaud the developers there. Unfortunately, I can't say the same thing about the music. For the most part, I thought it was okay, but it was more like dark and ominous tones than there really was music. To give them credit, the fifth act, the music in the fifth act was really cool, but it also could be just be a case of I really dug that part of the game, so maybe I was just really into it, and the music definitely helped that. But for the most part, I found myself tuning the music out. So I don't want to dunk too hard on Scorn. Obviously, it was made by an indie developer that had to make production choices. I do generally like these types of games. Scorn is unlike any game that I've played this year, so I definitely want to give them credit for that. It was a breath of fresh air. They had a vision for this game, and they did what they could to execute that vision. Unfortunately, it was just kind of rough around the edges. It definitely did not overstay its welcome, so I want to give credit where credit's due. It only took me about 4-ish hours to beat this game. If you really wanted to immerse yourself and get everything that you could out of this game, maybe it takes you 7 hours, but that might be a stretch. It was a day one Game Pass release, so I didn't have to pay a dime outside of the cost for Game Pass to play Scorn, which I definitely appreciated. So all in all, I think I would give this a soft recommend. I would give it out of 5 stars, 3. Well, there you have it. That is my Scorn review. If you enjoyed it, definitely smash that like button, as the kids say. Consider subscribing and dinging that bell. That way you don't miss any of my videos. I post weekly gaming related content, and I also stream on Twitch every Monday and Wednesday, 6 p.m. Central. If you prefer bite-sized content, I do post clips from those streams on YouTube as shorts. If you prefer TikTok, I do also post those clips there as well. But until next time, take it easy. What's up, YouTube people? It's your boy Patty McNinja, and this is my boy Yoshi, aka Kitty Boy. And we were just talking, and we agree that since you made it this far in the video, you might as well subscribe. You wouldn't want to disappoint Kitty Boy, would you?